What is good? Osiris here. I'm in the middle where healing happens, as Tyler Perry so eloquently put it. Thank you for joining. I talk politics, whatever crosses my mind, tech. And today we're going to do a choose your own adventure, or at least talk through a choice that many in our country go through. I am born from immigrants of Jamaica. And my mom always told me about one of the most startling things that my uncle had to get used to coming from Jamaica to the States. When he would play tennis or golf or do anything, he noticed people would label him as a black golfer or a black tennis player. I grew up playing tennis throughout my high school days. And in Jamaica, there is none of that. You're just a tennis player, you're just a soccer player. You're just a golfer. Nobody labels you as black. And that's just something that inherently we have to deal with in this country. I have two sons, they are mixed race. I'm going to have to raise them and help them understand society, most of society is going to view them as black men. But we know there's a truth that they're half white, half black. Years ago, Tiger Woods came out and said he coined a phrase to describe himself called Cablinasian. And it caused a stir with black people. It was very eye-opening to me because factually, he is 1/4 Thai, 1/4 Chinese, 1/4 Caucasian, 1/8 African American, and 1/8 Native American. So, assuming that's accurate, the bigger point is he's a bunch of things. And he labeled a term to honor all of them, and he got pushback. Why did he get pushback? Because there's a path that you go down in life. In my opinion, every person has to make this decision. It is not just race. Are you going to put identity first or country first? That's the choice that any identity, not just black, it could be any identifying figure or identifying feature or trait that you might have or anyone has. I used to love reading Choose Your Own Adventure books back in the day. One of my favorite books to read is Just How Life Is. I could have made a choice not to record this in my basement right now and done something else. Each choice creates a chain reaction to take you to a different ending. Rush Limbaugh was one of the most prominent, articulate figures on this topic. I know he's divisive. I know some people hate him. But I've always had this ability to compartmentalize these things and say, okay, maybe I don't agree with somebody on this, but they might have a good point here. And Rush articulated it so well. Let me play this clip for you.
Let me tell you who we conservatives are. We love people. When we look out over the United States of America, when we are anywhere, when we see a group of people such as this or anywhere, we see Americans, we see human beings. We don't see groups, we don't see victims, we don't see people we want to exploit. What we see is potential.
Rush described himself as a conservative. Ignore that part. I'm not a conservative. I'm a man without a label. But I do agree that I like the path of country first before me identifying as a man or a black man or a father or a husband or whatever else. I do agree that the path to me of going down country first is more productive, it's better, it's healthier for me, it leads me to more success. So I do agree with Rush Limbaugh 100% on that piece. I don't know how you can listen to that clip and not get pumped up. That was one of his finest moments. Here's option B. Dr. Umar Johnson presents option B. And just because I don't choose to go down that path doesn't mean I don't respect those who do. That is just a choice. I am not knocking anybody for going down that path. I'm not saying I even made the right choice. There is no right or wrong, I don't think. And who knows what's right and wrong? It's whatever's right or wrong for you. Dr. Umar Johnson exemplifies here exactly why I do not go down option B, identity as black person or anything else before American.
I want to go to President Biden. President Biden, your first day of office, you signed an executive order to protect the life and safety of transgenders. I have no problem with that. But you did it on your first day. But he sat up here with you, Charlamagne, and told black people that if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. So if you went out of your way begging black people to vote for you, why haven't we got an executive order or any other activity coming out of the Oval Office from President Biden to protect black people from police?
I agree.
Look what he's doing with the anti-Asian hate. President Joe Biden signed an executive order that is exclusive to Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. I don't have a problem with that. But if you can protect the Asian American and Pacific Islander from violence, why can't you do the same thing for black people? They've been dealing with violence for 1 year as a result of COVID. That's what it's called, the COVID-19 Hate Crimes Bill, to protect Asians as a result of discriminatory treatment that they've been dealing with for how long? 1 year. Black people have been catching hell for 400 years, and we have yet to get an executive order from Joe Biden to protect us from the police. So can I ask you a question? If the Senate was able to pass the anti-Asian hate crimes bill, Charlamagne and Envy, 96-1 with almost no opposition, why is it that the Emmett Till lynching bill still has not been approved? Why is it that there have been over 200 different anti-lynching bills introduced in the U.S. Congress? 200! And not one of them has been approved by the U.S. Congress yet. But the first ever Asian bill goes through on the first try. Look at the racism. Look at the discrimination. Look at the bias. Look at the inequity there. And why are they catering to the Asians? You know why? Because the amount of white people in this country is shrinking.
That's right.
And whenever the amount of white people in America shrinks, America looks to find other white groups or other minority groups that they can build an alliance with to protect their power and their interests. Who better than the Asians? They're just as conservative politically as many middle-class white Americans. They are just as economically comfortable as many middle-class white Americans. They don't like black people just as much as many middle-class white Americans.
That was from Dr. Umar Johnson. He was on with the Breakfast Club with Charlamagne the God. And that's where he was talking about, well, here's what's happened. Our politicians have gone down this path of identity. And they drafted legislation, executive orders based on people's identity first, or just based on their identity. And the problem that causes is Dr. Umar Johnson is, and I don't blame him, if you're going to go down this identity path, he's like, where's the identity stuff for black people? Every single identity could say that. Native Americans, you've done so much for us here, but this isn't working. Where's the identity for us? Where's the identity for this group, that identifying factor, this identifying factor? And don't think white people can't be a part of that as well or feel ostracized. So Umar Johnson wants an executive order for black people. I can't blame him. If you're going to go down and our politicians passed a bill, bipartisan, there's not much that gets bipartisan support nowadays, going on identity first. And he's saying, where's our identity? We never grow up. We're adults, but this is real life stuff. So I do not mean to diminish it, but it is the exact same as I have two sons. I give one son a Transformer toy. The other son's going to be like, what was that? I want a Transformer toy also. So I have to raise them and let them know, hey, sometimes you both don't get the same thing. You have to work it out or internalize that, figure out how to live. Life isn't fair. You don't always both get the same thing, but I have to address it, or you're going to have a temper tantrum. You might have one even if you do address it. This is no different. This is a grown man, and and I would be doing the same thing. If I went down that identity path, I would be doing the same thing he did. That's why I didn't choose that path. It's not a healthy path. it only causes more division. And does it sound like Dr. Umar Johnson is invested in our country's success? No, you're more invested in your identity's success. Damn the country. That's what happens when you go down that path. We're adults, but we still have mommy issues, daddy issues, insecurities. You don't think slavery, even though it's 400 years ago plus, and Jim Crow for, 100 years? You don't think that's going to have a domino effect on the generations afterwards? Yeah. So when you start playing identity games, a group that, like Black Americans, who have been that scarred, handed down generation through generation, they're not bought into the country necessarily. Dr. Umar just wants to be loved. Dr. Umar just wants to be loved. That's all he wants. Why do I say that? Well, look what he requested. He talked about a bill that was passed for a different identity group. And then he brought up the Emmett Till anti-lynching bill, which is fair. Why hasn't that? I don't even think the Senate's voted. It passed in the House, to my knowledge. I don't think the Senate has voted on it. Why is that? But the reason why I say he just wants love is lynching isn't a problem in Black America right now. It's another symbol. He's asking for a symbol to know that he is loved. That's all he's asking for. I know there's a harsher exterior and pounding the table and we need this, we need that. He is asking for love and affirmation from our government. That's all it is. That's all tearing down statues are. It's a symbol. Who cares? Why else would you tear it down? You want acknowledgement that it bothers me. I need love. The Emmett Till anti-lynching bill is not a bill that's going to help Black people. He's not asking for it to help Black people. We're not seeing lynchings like that anymore. It's a symbol. And that's what happens when you go down this path of identity. Someone always feels left out. You will never satisfy everyone. That is not Dr. Umar Johnson's fault. It is not his fault we're focused on identity. Listen to Barack Obama.
Why not target the African American community? Why not say then, this is for you? This is for African Americans. If there was a banking crisis, then you target money for the banks. If there was a national disaster, you target your money for the national for disaster relief.
That's not how America works. America works when all of us are pulling together, and everybody is focused on making sure that every single person has opportunity.
I agree with Obama. I agree with Obama's take there. I'm going down the path of country first. That aligns with it. I agree with it. Listen to Kamala Harris. This is in response to her being asked about reparations or legislation specifically for Black people.
That's why, for example, I'm proposing the LIFT Act. Give people who are making $100,000 or less as a family a tax credit, which will benefit and uplift 60% of Black families who are in poverty.
So by default, it affects Black families, but there's not a particular policy for African Americans that you would explore.
But no, if you look at the reality of who will benefit from certain policies, when you take into account that they're not starting at the same place and they're not starting on equal footing, it will directly benefit Black children, Black families, Black homeowners, because the disparities are so significant. So if we focus on the specific issues that have resulted in the greatest disparities, and we understand that that's part of why we're doing it. Listen, the reality also is this. Any policy that will benefit Black people will benefit all of society. Let's be clear about that. Let's really be clear about that. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit Black people. No, because whatever benefits that Black family will benefit that community and society as a whole and the country. Right?
I agree with that. I actually agree with that on its premise. So then if you are going down that path with Black people, basically telling them country first, you can't go down a different path with another identity group. That's disrespectful. How does that correspond? I'm not, just like Dr. Umar Johnson was saying, I'm not against any other identity. This is the topic of, you're telling black people country first. And then you're going down identity with other people and not identity with black people. The Democratic Party is one of the most harmful organizations that has ever happened to the history of black people, in my opinion. And you're seeing an example of it right now. The Democratic Party is one of the most harmful organizations to ever happen to the history of black people. And you're just seeing it play out. They pit identities against each other. They rank, they play identity politics. Republicans do too. They're just not good at it. How can I go to Dr. Umar and say, I'm country first, when he can point out these discrepancies? I would not. I will tell him I am country first. But if he challenged me and said, look at this, I'd be like, you're right. I can't say anything. The politicians are playing identity politics. If you are going to play this identity game, you can't make things personal. And I'm going to talk about Charlamagne the God now, because he's a guy I like, entertaining, great podcast radio personality. On his show, Joe Biden played the ultimate identity politics game. He was trying to joke, but there's always truth to a joke. This was not funny.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black, and you ain't black.
Black Americans, I'm going to go down, if you're going to go down that identity path, I'm just going to try to help black Americans going down that path. If you're going down that identity path, you cannot take things personally. You cannot be manipulated. So what happened is Joe Biden launched his presidency and said, Trump is a racist. That's how he launched his presidency, basically, with a lie. The Charlottesville video is a lie. Trump denounced both sides. But Biden came out, Trump is a racist. You have to be with me. You ain't black if you don't vote for me. See, if you're going to play that identity politics, Charlamagne, and Charlamagne said he's not voting for Joe Biden, he's voting for Kamala Harris. Well, that sounds like ass clownedness. You're voting for both of them. I guess that's the reason, whatever. But now you're in a position where you have no leverage. Joe Biden never said he was going to do anything for black people other than get rid of the racist, in his eyes, Trump. Black Americans had the biggest, this is my takeaway. Black Americans had the biggest, and this pun is intended, Trump card ever. The Democrat Party came to black people, and the Democrat Party said, don't vote for Trump, he's a racist. But black Americans don't have any leaders. I'm just going to be very frank. We're not good in this game of capitalism and politics. If black Americans had any sense during 2020, they would have said, oh, Mr. Establishment, Joe Biden, and Mr. Establishment behind you, you guys don't like Trump, huh? You guys got a problem with him. Oh, and you need our vote to beat him. Oh, okay. It's going to cost you something. Otherwise, we might go vote for him. I don't give a damn. Put these things on the table, and then we might help you out. See, that's what I love this country, but that's the role that Dr. Umar Johnson needs to teach. He's on the show with Charlamagne the God, calling out Joe Biden, which is great, but he needs to be calling out Charlamagne the God. He needs to be calling out black Americans who went after Ice Cube, who was basically trying to do what I just described. Why did they go after Ice Cube? Because the establishment got in their head, Trump's a racist, we got to attack you. And now you lose in the game of politics. You lose in capitalism if you take things personally, if you get manipulated easily. Take care.
Yo, one time I was talking to my man Beatbox Bricks, right? He was explaining this situation to me that he was in. He was like, yo, if I don't handle this situation right here, I lose. And I thought about that. Cause yo, I ain't trying to lose. Hey yo, 5 a.m., still wide awake. Can't sleep or wink, I'm contemplating moves to make. Daily situations got me in the effed up state. I need to overcome the stress and hold my own weight. I wonder how many of y'all truly know the pain of a ghetto superstar who can't afford to ride the train. 50 million things is going on inside my brain, but yet and still head say I'm gassed if I slip and forget their name. Working 40 hours, putting up with bullshit, with my label stressing me to stay consistent with lyrics. It's pressure, but realistically, this here can solve my problems and enhance my wins column. But one thing, if my lyrics ain't tight, I lose. Don't blaze the set all night, I lose. Can't maintain and pay dues, I lose. And yo, I ain't trying to lose. Never catch an L. Fuck fame, glamour and glitz. It's time to start saving and building on some grown man shit. Yo, I need to see the light like Pharaoh and Common and get off this diet of greasy ass pizza and ramen. So I keep my music tight and stay on the playlist. Not because I'm gleaming, simply because I'm being creative. And I can't front, it's easy to make a joint from the heart when every single fucking thing around you's falling apart. So as the record spins, my trance begins. I grab the bull by the horns and the shark by the fins. When Chris Rock, him and Chuck was speaking, I was listening. So let this rebel's lyrics of fury into your skin. If the lyrics ain't tight, I lose. Don't blaze the set all night, I lose. Can't maintain and pay dues, I lose. And yo, I ain't trying to lose. I refuse to take a I can't take no don't need to take a yo, Akro refuse to take a yo, I ain't trying to lose. Reaching daybreak, you never know how long that may take, but I know it will take longer with too many mistakes. Earth be on my back like don't depend on rap. Son, it ain't guaranteed, so watch how much you spend on that. And I'm bright, yo, I wanna go to school and back that up, but I owe my school grands and yo, they don't give a fuck. So now it's time for go for Delph. I'm hitting the road and stacking papers, making the name Akrobatik explode. So don't be upset when I come to your town and tear the walls down with sound, cause we all gon' get down. I'm coming out the blocks to win, and drop gems that's refreshing like oxygen. So any obstacle or impediment, I treat it as a test to just how strong I represent self. I won't chase wealth, but make moves that lead to it. I ain't trying to reminisce on how I blew it, yo. And if the lyrics ain't tight, I lose. Don't blaze the set all night, I lose. Can't maintain and pay dues, I lose. And yo, I ain't trying to lose. I refuse to take a don't need to take a yo, I can't take no yo, and I ain't trying to lose. Is you in it to win it? Is you in it to win it?